The Sahnish belong to the Caddoan linguistic family, making them linguistically distinct from the Siouan and Algonquian groups that later populated the northern plains. Ethnohistorical evidence indicates that Caddoan-speaking ancestors migrated from regions encompassing present-day eastern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana to the Central Plains around 1400 CE. During their settlement along the Loup River in Nebraska, the Sahnish were closely integrated with the Skiri Pawnee. An eventual political divergence led the Sahnish northward along the Missouri River, where they became the northernmost Caddoan nation. By the 18th century, the Sahnish controlled a 100-mile stretch of the Missouri River Valley between the Cheyenne and Cannonball Rivers in present-day North and South Dakota. Their social and physical architecture centered on the Earth Lodge, a domed structure constructed of heavy timber posts laced with willow branches and thatch and encased in a thick layer of compacted earth. Sahnish society was matrilocal and heavily structured around female leadership in the domestic and agricultural spheres. Earth lodges were constructed, owned, and inherited by women. Sahnish women managed extensive agricultural fields in the fertile river bottomlands, cultivating specialized strains of corn, maize, squash, beans, pumpkins, sunflowers, and tobacco. Corn held a sacred position in Sahnish spiritual cosmos, venerated as Mother Corn, Nados, a divine entity who provided moral guidance, instructed the people in proper living, and connected humanity to the Creator. Seasonal rhythm dictated Sahnish life. In the spring, summer, and autumn, the Sahnish inhabited their permanent Earth Lodge villages, cultivating crops and holding world renewal rituals such as the Mother Corn ceremony and the sun dance. During the winter months, the nation shifted into mobile bison hunting camps, utilizing light, portable hide teepees to track herds across the open plains before returning to their riverbanks for spring planting. This economic prominence created complex geopolitical frictions, particularly with the Teton Lakota, Sioux. As the Lakota expanded westward, they sought to dominate the Sahnish villages. French trader Jean-Baptiste Troutot and later Pierre-Antoine Tabot observed that the Lakota often treated the Sahnish villages as economic vassals, conducting coerced trade in which they demanded corn at low exchange rates while enforcing peace when it suited their economic needs. Nevertheless, the Sahnish maintained strategic autonomy, using their grain supplies as a defensive weapon by threatening to withhold trade or ally with rival nations when Lakota demands became overbearing. When the American Corps of Discovery led by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark arrived in October 1804, they documented 3 active Sahnish villages containing 60 earth lodges near the mouth of the Grand River, housing roughly 2,000 survivors of recent smallpox epidemics. Lewis and Clark attempted to broker a peace between the Sahnish and the Mandan Hidatsa tribes to the north. However, diplomatic relations deteriorated rapidly in 1806 when the primary Sahnish chief, Ankaducharo, traveled to Washington, D.C. at the Americans' invitation and died while in the capital. Believing their leader had been murdered or cursed, the Sahnish grew deeply suspicious of American commercial and government interests along the Missouri River. The Arikara War of 1823 was rooted in structural shifts within the fur trade economy. Unlike British and French traders who relied on indigenous hunters to supply pelts in exchange for manufactured goods, American enterprises, such as General William H. Ashley's Rocky Mountain Fur Company, began bypassing native middlemen by sending bands of Euro-American trappers directly into wilderness watersheds. This model threatened to collapse the economic foundation of the Sahnish trade hub. The flashpoint occurred on June 2, 1823. Ashley's expedition of 70 trappers anchored their keelboats off the Grand River Sahnish villages to purchase horses. After a trade agreement was reached, news broke that a Sahnish chief's son had been killed in an encounter with trappers. At dawn, Sahnish warriors launched a sudden assault on the beachhead, killing 12 to 13 trappers and wounding several others, forcing Ashley's force to retreat downriver. Fur trade merchants declared the event the worst disaster in the history of the Western fur trade. In response, the United States federal government dispatched Colonel Henry Leavenworth with 230 soldiers of the 6th Infantry, supported by 50 armed fur trappers under Joshua Pilcher and William Ashley. Seeking to exploit the conflict, approximately 750 Teton Lakota warriors joined Leavenworth's command as military allies. This coalition of over 1,000 men laid siege to the two fortified Sahnish villages in August 1823. Military engagements of August 9th to 15th, 1823, proved indecisive. Leavenworth's artillery bombardment caused minor structural damage to the earth lodges, but killed the prominent leader Gray Eyes. The Lakota allies skirmished with Sahnish defenders, capturing horses and harvesting Sahnish cornfields before withdrawing. Frustrated by Leavenworth's cautious artillery tactics and negotiation attempts, Pilcher's trappers secretly set fire to the villages as the army prepared to withdraw. The destruction of their villages, coupled with consecutive crop failures, forced a dramatic cultural adaptation. The Sahnish abandoned their Missouri River sites and adopted a nomadic equestrian lifestyle for several years. They migrated south to live alongside their linguistic kin, the Skiri Pawnee in Nebraska, before returning north in the late 1830s to re-establish Earth Lodge settlements. The 19th century brought demographic collapse to the sedentary village nations of the Upper Missouri. Pre-contact Sahnish population estimates range from 10,000 to over 15,000 individuals, operating up to 18 distinct villages. However, successive waves of virgin soil epidemics, primarily smallpox and cholera, devastated their unexposed immune systems. The epidemics of the 1780s reduced the Sahnish population by more than half, forcing the consolidation of smaller outlying settlements into fewer, heavily fortified sites near the Grand River. In 1837, smallpox carried upriver by American Fur Company steamboats wiped out between 50% and 80% of the village populations along the river, dropping Sahnish numbers to roughly 1,500 survivors. A subsequent outbreak in 1856 struck Star Village near Beaver Creek, destroying social structures and forcing the evacuation of the last independent Sahnish settlement. Faced with severe depopulation and constant military pressure from Lakota bands, the Sahnish adopted an amalgamation strategy. In 1862, under the leadership of chiefs such as White Shield, the Sahnish relocated to Like a Fish Hook village near Fort Berthold in present-day North Dakota. There they joined the Mandan and Hidatsa nations, who had similarly survived the epidemics. Like a Fish Hook village represented the final major traditional Earth Lodge settlement on the Great Plains. While maintaining their distinct Caddoan language, clan structures, and sacred bundle ceremonies, the Sahnish established a formal political alliance with the Siouan-speaking Mandan and Hidatsa. This confederation laid the foundation for what would formally become the three affiliated tribes. During this period, many Sahnish warriors enlisted as military scouts for the United States Army at nearby Fort Stephenson. Viewing the Lakota as traditional rivals who had displaced them from their ancestral lands, Sahnish scouts served in major military actions, including the 1874 Black Hills Expedition and Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer's 1876 Little Bighorn Campaign. Sahnish scouts, including Bloody Knife, served alongside U.S. cavalry units, providing tracking expertise and tactical intelligence. The modern era for the Sahnish has been defined by political consolidation, land recovery, and cultural preservation. In the mid-20th century, the federal Pick-Sloan Flood Control Act resulted in the construction of the Garrison Dam on the Missouri River. The resulting reservoir, Lake Sakakawea, inundated over 150,000 acres of prime reservation land on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. This flooding drowned the fertile river bottomlands where Sahnish families had farmed for generations, forcing the relocation of towns and farmsteads onto the drier, windswept uplands. Despite this geographical disruption, the Sahnish people maintained their political integrity within the federally recognized Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, the three affiliated tribes. Headquartered at Newtown, North Dakota, the tribe operates under a sovereign constitution, managing its own educational institutions, housing authority, health systems, and natural resources. A major focus of contemporary tribal governance is linguistic and cultural revitalization. With the arikara language listed as critically endangered, the MHA Nation's Cultural Resources Department and tribal colleges have developed digital archives, immersion curricula, and community dictionaries to ensure Caddoan linguistic knowledge is transmitted to younger generations. Ceremonial traditions connected to the sacred bundles and the veneration of Mother Corn continue to ground Sahnish identity in the 21st century.